I know a lot of the chums know that I fully agree comedy is the way forward. You know, it doesn't matter how difficult things are in your life, you have to find a way. I know it's hard, but just to almost laugh at the things that are going wrong, seemingly because, of course, you believe the situation you now find yourself in. And I'm not being sort of dismissive or anything, but it can be the fact that suddenly, you know, you find a situation where you think, well, how did I end up in this? And then you look back at it, don't you, years later and think, well, that was quite amusing really, but at the time it seemed devastating, didn't it? Of course, we always look to comedians to cheer us up. That's their job. But as you normally find out with major stars, you know, it doesn't matter whether they're like, you know, Phyllis Diller, Tommy Cooper, Tony Hancock, stuff like that. They normally have very much a darker side. And the thing about the darker side is that they need to plummet that darker side in order, of course, to make you laugh. Joan Rivers said to me that her lows were incredibly low, but she wrote some of her best comedy lines when she was in that mode. Today I just wanted to share with you a short excerpt from an interview that I did a few years back now with the wonderful son of a comedy legend, Gary Morecambe, the son of course, the brilliant Eric Morecambe from Morecambe and Wise fame. Now over here in the United Kingdom, goes without saying, one of the most loved comedy duos, with their shows on the BBC getting around about 27 million on a Christmas day. Even the Queen Mother suggested that perhaps they should delay the start of Christmas lunch to watch the show first. That's how powerful they were. That was all remedied though, because basically they were given tapes in advance so they could watch it as and when they suited them. Wish we all could have had that in that day. Here though, Gary talks about his wonderful father and of course his partner Ernie Wise, who was from Leeds, a good northern boy like myself. Eric of course was from Morecambe in Lancashire. But what they left behind was a wonderful legacy of just simply sublime comedy moments. Everything from Dame Shirley Bassey to, of course, Andre Previn. We all know that sketch, don't we? They were just simply funny. And when you look back at life, and this is what I say, you have to find something that you say, can this just brighten my day for 10 minutes? And let's be honest, if you watch, as I say, the likes of Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy, Morecambe and Wise, Cannon and Ball, they can all make you smile. And we can't really ask for any more than that. Even in these darkest of days, we have to find a way of thinking, well, that cheered me up. I hope this will cheer you up too. Hi, it's Neil Sean here on Your Entertainment News. We've got a treat today as we meet the wonderful Mr. Gary Morecambe, who tells us all about his latest book, You'll Miss Me When I'm Gone. Remember though, Gary?
If you miss it, you miss out.
Don't miss Gary today on Your Entertainment News.
Sunshine in your smile, bring me laughter all the while. In this world where we live, there should be more happiness. So,
Gary, a pleasure to see you. Now we're here to talk about your new book, which is called
You'll miss me when I'm gone. And I had to think twice then.
So you're already off. So why is it called that? I mean, I know that, and anybody who reads the book, but the point of the title is?
Yeah, it was my sister reminded me, and it's so obvious, but obviously living with Eric Morecambe, you're living with a bit of a twilight world of Morecambe and Wise, you know. Diluted form, but it was still there. So we were getting the gags quite a lot of the time, and the observations and the humour and the interruptions. And we got to the stage, obviously, where it would be, oh, God, you know, give us a break type of thing. And he would laugh even more if it was winding us up. And then as he left the room chuckling, he'd always say, well, you'll miss me when I'm gone. And in terms of using that on a book, it has a more serious intonation because we do, collectively, you know, from the public's perspective, we miss him when he's gone or now he's gone. So it seemed very appropriate, and also being the 25th anniversary is also quite a touching title.
Lovely. And I mean, your book is a fantastic read. You know, if you didn't know who they were, or you're not a fan, you're just going to love it, in my opinion, because it gives you an insight into the mind of what it was like then to be funny. You know,
Yes.
the struggles, I think, that people don't realise, because everybody sees
yes.
people as TV stardom straight away. Is that how it was reflected for you?
Oh, definitely. I think, I mean, that's a whole new subject. We could talk for 3 hours just on TV and everything today, and where they come from and how quickly they get out there and how quickly they're ruined.
Yeah.
But Eric's and Ernie's, their journey was 20 years just to get on the TV, which is extraordinary when you think of it today. And so, yes, and they were bringing music hall and the variety theatres into their home and then into TV. So that never leaves a persona. You almost expect them to turn up at breakfast in makeup, these kind of people, I think. You know, it's just there, it's in them, in their nature. And so, yes, we were all touched by that. And I think that's why, although I've never been into performing, I'm not interested in that side of the business, I think that's why I still am interested as Joe Public. You know, I do like to see shows. I do like to read books about that time, about the variety theatres.
Well, my dad always said that that's the reason why your dad and Ernie always used curtains, because that was, you know, that was what they were used to, and the whole thing of just having the curtains behind them was like their safety.
Well,
if you like.
it's twofold. Firstly, it was a comfort zone with it, and secondly, my father told me it was an ironic statement. So he wanted just to say, you know, this is not a theatre, we don't need curtains, but let's really, therefore, not just have them, but let's pretend I can't even get through them.
Yeah.
So you had all that ruffling going on, then you had the arm gag with the curtain and all that, the hand coming out of the bag, you know, everything. He said that let's make it a really, you know, obvious statement that it shouldn't, you know, what's a curtain doing there on the TV studio?
Well, you don't realise that now until now you get older and you think, oh, it's done in a TV studio. Why would you have a curtain?
And people are more
you know?
familiar with TV now, which is obviously very different too.
And also, you know, when you say, you know, 25 years, because he's around us all the time, they both are. I mean, I just got sent some DVDs through of more episodes from the BBC that they've put out on DVD. Do you find that you know, maybe you're out shopping and you just see him everywhere, so it's not like they've gone, is it, you know?
Yes, the weirdest thing was hiking in northwest Australia, and the little village there, quite a few Aboriginal people around and a few stores, and there was a Morecambe and Wise DVD in this shop with sort of cans of baked beans and things. That actually was a real shock. And then again seeing a book about him when I was in India 20 odd years ago, and again and of course it's interesting, and I love the fact it happens, but momentarily, you know, you're talking about a parent as well as someone who's famous. It does give you that jolt. It's like, oh God, you know, and I don't know if that's a good thing sometimes, you know, it's a little bit weird.
Let's talk about, like, as you said, Eric the parent. What I find fascinating from your perspective is, you know, you've grown up in showbiz. People, you know, he was, as you just said, very funny around you all the time. But Dad also. When did you realise that Dad was almost as well a public property when you were out maybe with him or something?
Yes, well I think the whole realisation process began, well I know when it began, I was 5 years of age, and that was the obvious reason. I started at some form of schooling at that time, so I was then interacting with my peers. So all us toddlers or whatever were at school together, and they were coming up and saying, oh, I saw your dad on TV, and it's something like, well, did you? I thought he was only on our TV. You know, I really did think that. It was a private world suddenly shared. So that was weird, you know, that experience. And then, right that period, probably right into early teens, it was known that if you wanted to walk down the road for an ice cream, it would be an hour's job, because he would say hello to everyone, because he was showbiz. And I'm sure not everyone's like that today, but I know many that wouldn't be like that. They would shun it totally, and they'd go down in, you know, a car with the windows blacked out. But Eric wasn't like that. He felt he always owed his public something, because they were giving him his career. So he would stop and talk to everyone, anyone who wanted to talk to him.
Isn't that a nice thing, though? You know, because as you say, you look at in show business today, and he knows really. It's the old fear thing of being in variety, though, isn't it? Of like, if you don't nice to them, they might not book you.
Yes,
you
like,
know?
it's the next job type of mentality. Oh, that work ethic never left him. This whole life never left him.
So when you were a kid and they were still doing, obviously, well, let me take you back to the bit in the book that I loved, when you're talking about Eric's mother, Sadie.
Yes,
and you just get the impression that Sadie was a very strong, as you say in the book, strong backbone of the family.
Yes.
And he didn't answer back. And I think for people of our generation, you didn't then, though, did you?
No.
You just didn't. It didn't matter what your parents told you. You kind of just did it.
No, there was inherent discipline. It was just there, and it was accepted. And And he was an only child, so he probably had their undivided attention, which I think was very good and probably helped his career enormously. But Sadie was very disciplined. She came from that generation, semi-Victorian type, church-going, but without really being that church-going, but you know, everything was seen that way. And there were certain standards that you maintained, whatever your circumstances, certain behaviour standards were maintained. It was a different generation, totally. But she wasn't a hard woman. That's been a misconception. It's come across sometimes that, oh, she was a real driver to get on stage. She just simply wanted Eric to do something, you know, other than maybe just work at the local corner shop, which was fine, but she saw talent in him and just thought, well, if I don't do it, and he said himself he was far too lazy as a kid. She just was a motivator, really, got it all going.
I think we all need a Sadie in our lives, though. You know,
We do.
because it's
That's a lovely expression, that. And we do. We all need a Sadie in our
That is
lives.
true.